My name's Dawson Kellogg, and I'm here at the Columbus College of Art and Design, and I run the glass blowing program here. And I'm going to show you a little bit about blowing glass and how it works, and the fact that it is a liquid, even though we don't think of it that way. And then show you a couple different things that you can do with glass, and try and show you some pieces that emphasize characteristics that are inherent to the material. So I have a blowpipe in my hand, 604 stainless steel, so it doesn't get too hot on my hand. I have a furnace that's got 450 pounds of liquid glass in it. It's at, right now it's at, let's see, 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. Right? And the process starts by gathering on the end of the pipe a small ball. So this is the beginning of the process to take your first gather. The number of gathers that you take determines how big a piece you can make. But you can only take one gather at a time, and then you have to let that glass cool down so that the next gather will stick to it. So the first piece I'm going to make today is just a simple tumbler. It's kind of the first thing that I try and get the beginners to make, because it takes them through all the sequences of steps. Much like ceramics, you have to start the same every time. You have to get the amount of material you want, get it on center, get it just right, and then at a certain point in the process you can go this way towards a bowl or that way towards a tall vase. But the beginning steps are always the same. So there's my first gather. I'm going to gather over it to get a little more. Okay. So that's enough to make a pretty nice drinking glass. But since I've done all this gathering here, the pipe's starting to get hot. So I'm going to go to this pipe coolers so that I can cool the pipe. And it's a very sophisticated technological thing here. With man and all of his technology, we still use a little bucket to cool the pipe, which is pretty funny. So I'm going to utilize this large steel table here. It's called a marver, to one, shape it, but more importantly, to take some heat out of the glass in a certain area. Blowing glass is really about physics. Okay. So now I'm going to do what's called capping. This is starting the actual bubble. I'm going to blow some air into the pipe and cap it off. And the heat in the pipe will expand the air to actually blow a bubble for me. So there's my bubble. All right, so now I got a bubble established. I'm going to reheat one more time. So I come over to here. This is it's called a glory hole. It's just a big chamber of heat. It's used for reheating the glass. The glass doesn't stay hot very long, so you're constantly having to reheat and shape, reheat and shape, reheat and shape. So I'm going to get this really hot, and then I'll go to the bench and I'll start to shape the piece into a small tumbler. When you're making the piece, you always start at the top of the cup and work your way down. So I'll make the lip first, and then the shoulder, and then the body, and then the bottom. And then we'll transfer the piece and finish the lip. So I'm going to do this one rather quickly so you can kind of see the whole sequence. I'm going to let it stretch out a little bit. Again, just gravity, simple physics. I'm going to use the back of my tool to kind of put a little cold spot on the bottom, but I'm still letting it stretch at the same time. Now I'm going to get some air in there. All right, got the body going. Now I'm going to put what's called the neck. It's the point that will become the top or the lip of the piece eventually. But for now, it's the point where I'm going to separate the piece from the blowpipe. So I have to make a nice crisp little line there. Shape the sides a little bit. A little more blowing. My neck kind of blew up a little, so I'll make it crisp again. So, pretty much done. From this point all the way down to here, all I need to do is flatten out the bottom so it'll sit comfortably. But it's already gotten cold, so I'm going to go reheat. But I don't need to reheat all of this because it's pretty much done. I just need to get this hot so I can flatten it in. If I don't keep this a little bit warm though, it'll crack. So there's this kind of dance between too hot and too cold. So I'm going to go back to the hole here. I've heated the bottom a little extra. I'm going to cool these sides, make them nice and flat, and then flatten in my bottom. I'll kind of clean that up. Okay, so now the piece is essentially done except for this lip up here. But there's no way to manipulate this while it's still attached to the blowpipe. So I'm going to have my assistant bring me what's called a punty. It's just going to be a solid rod with a little bit of glass on it that he's going to shape in a very specific way. Go ahead. And we're going to get it to stick onto here, but not fuse onto there, so that I can transfer it to the punty and I can work this side of the lip. If I stick it on too hot, it'll become one with the bottom of the glass and it will never release later. If I stick it on too cold, partway through it'll release and it'll fall and hit the floor, which is really common in glass. A lot of pieces hit the floor. So what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for him is just start to cool this line here with my tool and make a cold spot there. He brings it over, he presents it, we stick it on, we kind of roll and make sure that the pipe and the punty are on center with each other. And then I'm going to cool this, and I'm going to tap the pipe, and the vibration is going to make it crack. Go ahead. So he goes to the glory hole, kind of warms the piece up a little bit so it doesn't break, but then he concentrates the heat on the lip. I just need heat on the lip. I need to get that part soft enough that I can, bring it out to a finished cut. But I don't need the rest of it hot because I've already shaped it. So it's a little bit of a game, of a dance, so to speak, of going into the hot spot and the cold spot while you're in the glory hole. Now I've heated up the top portion. I'm going to hold it down a little bit to let it elongate. This part right here is a little soft, so I'm going to kind of chill it with the blade of my jacks here. Now I can go inside and lift that out to match up with the line of the body. And then just kind of clean it up. Okay. So that's a basic tumbler. It's kind of plain. Seems like something you could buy in the store. But you really couldn't. There's subtle inconsistencies that show the fact that it was made by hand. So it's a little bit boring though, so I think we'll put a handle on it just to show you how that process goes about. And again, I'm going to utilize my assistant. My assistant will bring me a two-gather strap handle. So while he's doing that, I just need to maintain the heat on this piece. If I wait too long, it'll thermal shock. It'll cool so fast that it cracks. Much like when you pour water on fresh, cold ice cubes. The drastic change in temperature causes the molecules to contract at an uneven rate, and they literally pull apart from each other. It's called thermal shocking. So this is pretty cold now, and he's not quite ready. So I'm going to go what it's called flash the piece. I'm going to reheat the whole thing for 5 or 6 seconds, and that's just enough to keep it warm, but not enough to make it move again. All right, so I'm going to go do that. So Nick's going to make me what's called a strap handle. It was a piece that the Romans did a lot on their works. About 1000 AD, they made all of the handles on their mugs very much the same way he's going to make this one here. So he kind of shapes up the amount he wants, lets it get flat, and then puts these 2 grooves in there. This is it, and he puts the stripes out, lets it fall off center. We stick it down and kind of rock it on there to make sure we have a good adhesion. I'm going to pull it up a little. And notice he just holds it wherever I stop. He doesn't do it for me. I'm going to cut off this part, flip it down, change tools, kind of curl that little part in there, stretch it out, and then rock it up.